How's the stashes? Last week I started a series of my recent trip to Europe. Over the next couple of weeks I'll regale you with the history of each city we visited. So last week I kicked off with the ancient German city of Trier. We stayed in Trier for about a week. During that time we traveled to numerous towns and cities nearby. The first dorpie outside of Trier we traveled to was Saarburg. My name is Dr. Jacob Seidnote. This is Stashy, and you're watching The Historian Stash. Now, for those of you bitter einde stashes out there, you'll remember that I posted a video about Saarburg while I was still on my trip. This week, I'll include a bit more detail on the history of the site we visited there. Hello? Who's that handsome China over there?
Damn it, you are handsome!
I was just thinking the same.
Anyways, the first thing you need to know about Saarburg specifically, and the Rhineland-Palatinate in general, is that these oaks love their wines. Like, they really love their wines. In fact, wine has been grown there for the last 2,000 years. That's a hell of a vintage. Riesling is the predominant grape in the Saar area, and thanks to the distinct flavor given to the wine by the fertile mineral soil and the relatively cool climate, Saar Riesling wines are acknowledged by global wine experts as some of the best white wines in the world. The Saar area is part of what used to be the Moselle-Saar-Rouergue wine region in Germany, renamed in 2007 to simply the Moselle wine region. I was quite fortunate to have tasted some of the local wines, and I must say they are pretty lekker.
Gezondheid. Gezond, dis die sterk wyn wat jy nou gegee het.
Now, back to Saarburg itself. It's about 24 kilometers south of Trier and sits on the banks of the Saar River, which is a tributary of the Moselle River. The old town is on the western bank of the Saar, and it really looks like a town full of gingerbread houses. But overlooking the town is a massive castle complex known as Saarburg Castle. The castle was originally built by Siegfried, Count of Ardennes and founder of the House of Ardennes-Luxembourg in 964 AD. It's considered to be one of the oldest hilltop castles in southwest Germany. It became an important fortress in the hands of the archbishops of Cologne. In the early 12th century, the castle was enlarged, and then in the 13th century, it was rebuilt. In the 14th century, the castle became a favored residence of the bishops of Trier. Remember those Chinas?
Yeah, but...
Now, when we were walking through the castle complex, I was quite impressed by its seemingly commanding position, supplemented by various fortifications surrounding the castle. However, judging by the history of the place, these fortifications were quite useless.
We have a very powerful wall, but you can cut through any wall, as you know.
It was first heavily damaged in 1431 by Ulrich von Manderscheid and his troops. Did I say that correctly?
Nein, 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 nein!
I don't know who these people are, but they sound really like mamparas. It was later rebuilt by an Umdorder called Johann II von Baden. I'm assuming he was a good oak.
Absolutely.
In 1552, Saarburg Castle was burnt down by troops of Albert Alcibiades, Margrave of Brandenburg-Kulmbach, who was a Tsotsi, hell-bent on plundering the whole region.
Absolutely.
Just look at that beard. You can almost see he was a Tsotsi. Anyway, German efficiency meant that the castle would be rebuilt later that century. But then came the French. During the 17th century, the castle was taken and occupied by French troops several times. Initially, they were quite lacquer and even modernized its defenses. But then, the French blew up the castle in 1705. By 1756, it was a complete ruin. Flippin' French. What remains today is mainly the round keep, closely protected by a shield wall. To get to the tippy top of the tower, you must climb 107 steps. By the time you get up to the viewing platform, you're moeg. Almost as moeg as a Namibian prop. But the climb is worth it. Now, just under the castle complex sits the Evangelical Church, a Protestant church built in 1893. It was built in the historicist style, where architects were inspired by styles of past centuries. Inside, the two cross beams, the support beams, and the boarding are painted in an almost black dark brown. A Bible verse is attached to the lowest boards on each side of the eaves. On the right side, it reads, in German obviously, "The harvest is large, but the workers are few." Okay, I'll stop. Therefore, ask the Lord of the earth to send workers into his harvest. This is from Matthew 9:37 to 38. On the left side, it reads, "I am the vine, you are the branches. Whoever abides in me and I in him bears much fruit, for without me you can do nothing." From John 15:6. Quite a fitting verse for a town that's surrounded by vineyards. Now, an interesting story about this particular church is that after the Nazis took power in Germany in 1933, tensions developed between the parish leadership and their pastor, Herbert Degen. The parish leaders supported the German Christian movement, which aligned itself with the racist and anti-Semitic ideology of the Nazis. But Herbert didn't allow his conscience to be consumed by populist hysteria and hate. So he joined a German resistance movement called the Pastors' Emergency Association, a group of Protestant theologians, pastors, and other church officials who joined together against the introduction of racist discriminatory church laws implemented by the German Evangelical Church. Herbert was also close to the Confessing Church, an opposition movement of Protestant Christians who resisted the onslaught of Nazi ideology in the Protestant Church. The conflict between Herbert and the parish leadership eventually boiled over in 1935. Several parish leaders resigned from their positions. They then went about trying to collect signatures to force the beleaguered pastor out of his position. But the parish leadership's plan backfired. When collecting signatures, over 90% of the congregation supported Herbert. The churchmaster, who seemed to have been the main mampara of this whole debacle, was subsequently removed from office by the district synodal board, only to be reinstated 2 months later by the legal committee of the church province. 2 years later, he was removed again by the district church committee, but then reinstated once more. Herbert was understandably tired of this ongoing conflict and decided to accept an appointment elsewhere in 1937. In 1938, a member of the German Christians was appointed as pastor of the church. But tensions with the congregation did not go away, and soon community life deteriorated beyond repair. The German Christians may have eventually taken over the parish, but their political views destroyed the community. By the end of the war, the congregation numbered fewer than 300. In December 1944, the church suffered severe damage from Allied air raids, and the church could not be used until its re-inauguration in April 1949. But there was at least a happy ending to this tragic chapter of the church's history. In 1968, the parishioners of Saarburg Evangelical Church were planning their church's 75th anniversary. Somehow, they tracked down Herbert, and in a beautiful twist of fate, he ended up preaching in the same church he was forced out of 30 years earlier. Now, at the bottom of the hill lies the old town of Saarburg. Here we came across the canal, splitting the town into two. This canal is actually the Lügbach waterway that was diverted into the town way back in the 13th century so that the townsfolk could harness the power of its waters. The result of this project was a large urban waterfall with an 18-meter drop. At the bottom of the falls, they constructed a mill, the Hackenberger Mill, where the water flowing through the narrow causeway powered the mill. It's said that the grapes from the surrounding vineyards would also be crushed there, changing the color of the water. The mill is still operational today, but it's now only a tourist attraction. Staring down into that abyss from the top made me a bit bang, especially since I'm not the biggest fan of heights. All in all, Saarburg is a beautiful town to visit. It's no coincidence that it's often referred to by locals as Little Venice. When we visited, it was rainy at times, but the town still managed to shine in its splendor. In fact, it's actually best to go when it's wet like that, because you get to skip all the long lines of tourists who flock there. But it's not just the aesthetic beauty of the place that struck me. It was also the little nuggets of history in every stone, every house, every church, every vine, and every plaque that not only tells the broader history of the town, but also of its people. That's it for now. Please don't forget to gratify the YouTube algorithms, so slot the like, share and subscribe to help the Historian Stash channel grow. Until next time, stay stashy.